Okay, so this is going to my interviewing and counseling um, as my self-reflection on the role playing that I had to do for our mock interview. So I've done most of the reflection in the three stages on how I felt things were going and in terms of where I thought that I could definitely improve. Um, I noticed that when I first initiated the how do I say the like when I first initiated the actual counseling session, I had not taken the time to really set myself up properly with questions written out. I didn't have the SMART goal cheat sheet next to me. I didn't have the proper informed consent, confidentiality as the first thing that should have been, introduced into the interview and the conversation. And that really, like, that's my biggest fault is that I'm very amicable and I like to chat. I'm a very, very chatty person, but when it comes to things like actually forming the dynamic and implementing all of the tools that we're supposed to be, like the actual confidentiality side to things, I immediately freeze and I forget everything. So I definitely forgot to prepare myself, which, clearly had its weakness and it kind of ruins the whole thing. Well, I don't know if it's ruined the whole thing, but it definitely would have made things a lot easier. And obviously, that's something that I really need to practice on. But I find that the more that I rehearse it, even just by myself, the more I can feel more comfortable the next time I have to do an interview, even if it's, continuing to practice with friends and peers, and making sure that I'm following the necessary steps to initiate and um, make sure I'm introducing informed consent and confidentiality immediately. So that was my biggest flaw. After that, I think that, like, because I am such close friends with my friend that I did the interview with, that I think in like some ways I could have been a little bit more clinical instead of maybe directing the whole thing by emotion only, which I realized I also was kind of taking our dynamic like just for the sake of working off of it, which I think that's what I meant when I said in my reflection was that I said that it was really just based for formality's sake, and my friend is like more than willing to support me in that. So they were able to give me that consent, but I should have, formally, obviously, like put that up as the first stepping stone. Um, but outside of the mistake that I made with not introducing the client properly, um, or like having initial icebreakers that would have definitely been a lot more helpful in practicing the whole entire interview sequence and following along with like each stage with basic listening skills, open and close questions, paraphrasing. Those parts are not a problem for me. I think it was just following the sequence and the proper steps with like how to actually just open the counseling session with the informed consent. And really, truly, that is my biggest stumbling block. But on the other hand, I should say, just 1 second. I have to pull up my review here. But other than that, I actually felt that I didn't do too terribly. I actually thought that it was kind of really a thrill to practice this with my friend, because that way I actually had, like someone that I felt comfortable with, comfortable enough that I could go through with the whole thing and, not feel like, twice as nervous, I suppose. I think another thing that also kind of sets me off sometimes is my emotional dysregulation, which I know is more just a personal thing. And it's something that I think is really just beginner's nerves. And I think that the more that I practice, the better I'm going to feel at, making use of everything that I'm learning, obviously. But yeah, so let me see where I was going with this. So, I mean, on the surface, I think I just I was rushing it a little bit, and thankfully, the dynamic wasn't too fast that I was just sort of like either plowing through it and not focusing on how I was presenting. I think it was pretty steady, but I feel as if I could have done much better in terms of the flow of the whole thing. And I think that I could have probably made much more use of like particular moments of like silence where I could have really downplayed my desire to keep jumping and like suggesting things, or like really just being a little bit more, I think, formal, because I see the way that I am in the actual recording, and it was weird. It's always weird to see myself afterwards and review it, but like I see that there are a lot of discrepancies between the way that I forget to introduce the informed consent. Like that is a continuous pattern that I even had a problem with. I think it was back in my first semester, and because it's not something I'm practicing every day, that I forget it. I forget it completely, and that kind of adds a little bit of anxiety to the whole thing, which I know is, it's about showing up with the right information and the right papers in line so that I, can go through the sequence at least and practice a little bit more so that, the next time I remember to actually include informed consent and confidentiality right as the beginning of the interview. I'm not sure if I have any other like real reflections on the interview itself, but from my own perspective, I think I was sort of trying to play off the fact that I wasn't prepared. I was kind of, in a way, playing off of the dynamic between myself and my friend, because we know each other so well that we just sort of kind of were able to, in a way, pull off the interview in a way that kind of, like, it made sense for us. But I think on a general scale, yeah, I screwed myself up, like, without those real formal introductions, and making sure that I was, engaging with them instead of them, in a way, directing it. So I don't know. I think that there could definitely be some further counseling on that side, and I definitely could use further assessments, I think, just so I can know that, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm doing the right things. I'm introducing, the confidentiality skill, and I'm also mentioning that there's informed consent, the risks, the benefits, the fact that they don't have to engage in this completely or at all. And oh my God, even now I'm not even prepared properly to complete this reflection because I have all my paperwork all over the place. But let me just see. No, this is not the right book. What am I trying to say? Yeah, like, it's just, I think that those are the real weak points in the whole interview itself. And I'm definitely looking to, like, even just make sure I carry the Smart Sheet goal around with me anytime I do get into, field placement, and in the future. Obviously, those are things I'm going to have to make sure I have on hand, or that I've memorized them, or that I know what to do when in a situation that I need to be, or counsel somebody, or introduce them to counseling at all. And yeah, it's about remembering and writing down notes. Definitely, that was another thing I forgot to do, which was writing down notes. Because otherwise, if I'm not writing down notes, then it never happened. So that's also another thing that I realized. I think it was just the situation I was really nervous to do. And it really, like, it just sort of threw everything off. And I know I could have been a lot better prepared to even, get into the actual mock interview or the video. But I just keep thinking that it's just the fact that I'm doing something that's out of my comfort zone, and it definitely makes me feel really nervous and really anxious, and then I forget things, and I, kind of leave too many discrepancies, and yeah, I think that's about all I can say in terms of the way I feel that I could have, obviously done better. I think that the rest is really open to speculation and assessments from teachers and from students or classmates.